Conference tournaments are officially here, and that means March Madness is right around the corner. And when filling out your bracket this year, there are some mid-majors that have the potential to absolutely bust it, and you need to know who these teams are. So let's start with the team that is absolutely not a Cinderella this season, and that's St. Louis. And the Billikens are terrifying. St. Louis is currently a top 30 team in the nation according to KenPom, and top 50 in both offensive and defensive efficiency. They scored nearly 90 points per game and are the top 3-point shooting team in all of college basketball at over 41% from beyond the arc. And what's even crazier is that this team is even better on the defensive end. St. Louis is top 5 in both 2-point and 3-point percentage defense, and they lead the country in field goal percentage allowed. And Josh Schertz's squad runs a deep 9-man rotation with no one playing more than 26 minutes per game and 7 guys averaging over 9 points per game. And I have to mention the Billikens' best player, Robbie Avila, who is a 6'10 center that averages 13, 4, and 4 and is shooting over 43% from 3 on the season. And with all the talent around him and their deep rotation, this team plays extremely fast, and if they get matched up with a team that doesn't have a lot of depth or would rather play slow, watch out, because St. Louis might not only be favored in their first round matchup, but this is a team that I wouldn't be surprised if I saw in the second weekend. But St. Louis might not even be the best mid-major squad in the country this year. And that's because that title could belong to the Miami, Ohio RedHawks out of the MAC, who are the only undefeated team remaining in all of college basketball. And the RedHawks are home to one of the best offenses in America. They rank 5th nationally in points per game and 6th in effective field goal percentage. And they shoot nearly 40% from the 3-point line and over 60% inside the arc. And all 5 of their starters have the ability to stretch the floor, and this team will be a tough cover for just about any team in the tournament. And watch out for senior guard and leading scorer for the RedHawks, Peter Suter, because this guy is an absolute bucket. But I will admit, the RedHawks defense is shaky at times, and they have had one of the easiest strength of schedules that included 0 quad 1 opportunities and only 1 win in quad 2. But this team has just found a way to win each and every game they have played so far. And I don't care who you are, when you win 30 games in a regular season, you deserve to be in the NCAA tournament, and I truly believe that Miami, Ohio has a chance to make a run to the second weekend this year. But here's the crazy thing about the RedHawks, they might not even be the most dangerous team in the MAC, because that very well could be the second place team in the conference in the Akron Zips. And Akron is almost rated 30 spots higher in KenPom, and that's because this Zips offense can go nuclear at times, and it might be even better than Miami, Ohio's. John Groshi's squad is top 15 in the country in 2-point and 3-point percentage, and have who I think will be the MAC player of the year in Tavari Johnson, who is averaging 20 points and 5 assists per game for the Zips. And alongside Johnson is senior forward Amani Lyles, who is a 6'9 big that can stretch you out and shoots nearly 40% from deep. And earlier in the year, the Akron Zips did have a matchup against Miami, Ohio, and lost by 3 on the road, but on a neutral site in the MAC tournament, it could be a different story. And if both the RedHawks and the Zips get into the NCAA tournament and the conference ends up being a 2-bid league, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 2 teams from the MAC pull off an upset in the first round. But let's move to a team from Florida that might be the hottest team in the country right now, and I'm not talking about the Florida Gators. I'm talking about the South Florida Bulls out of the American Athletic Conference, because in their last 11 games, this team is 10-1, with their only loss coming on the road by a single point. And this team plays like absolute chaos, and they're like the Alabama of the mid-majors, as they play fast and shoot a lot of threes. And guards Wes Ennis and Joseph Pinion are both lethal shooters for the Bulls and have each made nearly 100 threes on the season. But one thing that's different about this South Florida team is that they crash the glass on the offensive end and are one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the entire country. And that's in large part due to Isaiah Nelson, who might be one of the most underrated players in the nation. And Nelson is a big, strong, athletic two-way forward that is a double-double threat every time he is on the floor, and he has real potential to play at the next level. And the Bulls are currently projected as an 11 or 12 seed, but they will have a legitimate shot of not only winning in the first round, but of making it to the second weekend of the tournament. But just like the MAC, there's 2 teams in the American that I think could pull off an upset in March, and that's South Florida and Tulsa. And the Golden Hurricanes are one of the mid-major teams that I'm surprised no one is talking about right now. They started the year by winning 12 of their first 13 games, and although they have definitely had their ups and downs throughout the season, they are home to one of the best mid-major offenses in the country. Tulsa is top 20 in points per game and top 30 in offensive efficiency according to KenPom. They are also top 15 in effective field goal percentage and have the 4th best three-point percentage in the entire country. Tylen Riley and David Green are two names you need to know from this Golden Hurricane squad, and both of these guys are capable of going for 25 or 30 points on any given night. And with an offense like this, they have the capability to knock a lot of teams out of March. But if you want the most pure shooting team, not only in the mid-majors, but in the entire tournament if they make it, that's the Belmont Bruins out of the Missouri Valley Conference. And Belmont isn't your ordinary mid-major. The Bruins are number 1 nationally in effective field goal percentage, and they are also top 5 in 2-point and 3-point percentage. And it's not just one guy that can shoot it from deep on this team, as 6 guys on the roster shoot 37% or better from beyond the arc. But senior guard Tyler Lundblad is the guy you need to know about. He's the Bruins' leading scorer at 15 points per game and also plays over 34 minutes each and every game, it seems. But Belmont has the capability to go 9 or 10 deep in their roster, and there are just too many guys that can space you out. But Belmont is not only one of the best offenses in the country, they also have the size that most mid-majors don't usually have. 4 of their 5 starters are 6'5" or taller, and sophomore big man Drew Charnowski is a force on the interior. And the defense isn't bad either, as they are first in the Missouri Valley in block percentage and turnover percentage, and they do so without fouling. But if Belmont gets in the first round and catches rhythm from deep, they are going to be a pesky opponent for just about anyone that's matched up with them. But now let's talk about a team that is starting to look like a powerhouse in the mid-major ranks, and that's the High Point Panthers. Last season, High Point was one of the most popular upset picks in the NCAA Tournament, and although it didn't go as most would have hoped last season, this Panthers team is back at the top of the Big South once again, and this year's team might be even better than they were last year. This season, High Point is another mid-major team that is among the best offenses in the country, as the Panthers score over 90 points per game on average, but they do this in a different way than the other teams I've mentioned so far. High Point gets after you from the opening tip and forces you to play their style of basketball whether you like it or not. And on the defensive end, they take the ball from you constantly and lead the nation in steal percentage. Also, they have the best turnover margin in the country, and for every mistake you make, they turn it into points. However, the weakness for this team, though, is going to be their size, as their biggest guy that consistently plays is 6'8". But given the right matchup, they will speed you up and start turning you over, and that sounds like a recipe for an upset in the tournament to me. But my next team is the complete opposite when it comes to size, and this team just feels built for March. And that team is UNC Wilmington out of the CAA, and the Seahawks are huge. UNCW is the 11th tallest team in the country, and their smallest starter is their 6'5" point guard. And this is something you immediately notice when you watch them play, especially at the mid-major level, as they tower over the majority of their opponents, especially their 7-foot center Patrick Wessler. And with their size, they're one of the better rebounding teams in the country and are top 40 in both offensive and defensive rebounding. They also use their size to close out on shooters and force teams into tough shots from deep, and they're successful at doing so as their opponents are shooting below 30% from beyond the arc this season. But when it comes to the offensive end, they don't seem to care much about shooting from deep, as they primarily focus on driving to the basket and getting to the foul line. And it seems to work, as they're one of the top teams nationally at getting to the free throw line. And if they get a matchup against an undersized or slower power conference team, watch out, because UNC Wilmington could be dancing for longer than most expect. But even with all of the great offenses we've talked about so far, I haven't even mentioned what might be the best one. And that's the Liberty Flames, who are ranked 3rd nationally in true shooting percentage. This team shoots 40% from three-point range and 61% from inside the arc. And just about everyone on the court gets involved in the action, and the ball never sticks for too long. Brett Decker Jr. leads the team in scoring, averaging 16.5 points per game while shooting nearly 50% from beyond the arc. And Zach Cleveland is one of the best do-it-all forwards in the country, with averages of 11.5 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 7 assists per game. But there is a problem with this team, and that's their size, because they are tiny and one of the smallest teams in all of college basketball, which also tends to translate to be one of the worst offensive rebounding teams in the country. So if they make the tournament, they'll have to be close to perfect, but if this team gets hot from deep, like they have all season long, they have a chance to end some team's season. But the last team you should know about is the exact opposite of the Liberty Flames. And that's because instead of shooting the 3-ball, they actually limit you from shooting it. And that's Hawaii, the top team in the Big West Conference right now. This season, Hawaii is top 10 in opponent 3-point attempt rate and top 5 in opponent 3-point percentage. So even if you do get the shot off, it's highly contested and not likely to go in. But that's not all. Hawaii allows some of the fewest assists in the country, meaning they force you into playing one-on-one, taking contested twos, and just play solid defense for the entirety of the shot clock. And on the offensive end, this team plays inside-out basketball, as they like to get the ball to their center, Isaac Johnson, who's a 7-footer in the post. They grab offensive boards and get to the free throw line at will, it seems. And if they make the tournament and get matched up with a high-volume perimeter team, Hawaii could be a nightmare matchup. But here's the truth. One of these teams is going to ruin someone's bracket, but that's March Madness for you, and that's why we love it. And that wraps it up for today's video. Let me know in the comments who you think is going to pull off an upset in the tournament this year. Also, if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.